Here's what they found in Tim Allen's estate, and it's bad. YouTube/www.youtube.com/watchv equals KQO39UUOW2W transcript. When Tim Allen's Hollywood Hills estate hit the market, it was expected to be another lavish celebrity listing, but as prospective buyers and real estate insiders got a closer look, unsettling details began to emerge. Hidden rooms off, there-ored renovations, and financial red flags painted a picture far different from the one fans had of the home improvement star. As questions mounted about what had really been going on behind the mansion's doors, one thing became clear. What they found in Tim Allen's estate wasn't just unusual, it was disturbing. The estate that raised eyebrows, Tim Allen's Hollywood Hills estate, wasn't just another celebrity mansion, it was a fortress of mystery, perched high above Los Angeles. The sprawling home offered breathtaking views of the canyon and city skyline. But for those who stepped beyond the lavish facade, an unsettling truth lingered beneath the surface for years. Allen's estate had been the subject of quiet speculation to the public. It was an architectural marvel, a sanctuary that combined mid-century modern aesthetics with rustic charm. The property featured expansive floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek wooden paneling, and a master suite that rivaled the most luxurious hotel rooms in the world. Yet despite its seemingly inviting design, visitors often described an eerie stillness in the home, a sense that something was being deliberately hidden. Perhaps it was the sheer size of the mansion, with its labyrinth-like layout of corridors and rooms that didn't always seem to connect the way they should. Or maybe it was the fact that certain areas were strictly off-limits, even to close friends. And longtime staff members, one housekeeper who had worked at the estate for over a decade, admitted that she had never set foot in certain parts of the house, despite cleaning nearly every other inch of it. It wasn't just that the doors were locked, she later confided. It was that you got the feeling you weren't supposed to ask what was behind them. Real estate insiders were also puzzled. While the Hollywood Hills is known for its eccentric properties, Allen's estate had an unusual history of delayed renovations, sudden changes to its architectural plans, and oddly vague property records. Some claimed that previous owners of the land had their own secrets. Whispers of hidden rooms, forgotten tunnels, and concealed compartments dating back decades. It wasn't until Allen decided to put the home on the market that the mystery deepened. As prospective buyers and real estate agents walked through the house, small inconsistencies began to surface. Some rooms were marked larger on paper than they appeared in real life, and others seemed to have no direct access points at all. One experienced contractor hired to conduct a routine inspection left the property visibly shaken when pressed for details. He refused to elaborate, only saying something about that place just isn't right, a mansion fit for a king or a cover-up on paper. Tim Allen's Hollywood Hills estate was a dream home, the kind of place that most could only fantasize about. It boasted an open floor plan, sleek high-end finishes, and enough space to host grand Hollywood parties. But beneath the high ceilings and carefully staged decor, something seemed off. For years, Allen had been known as a private man, rarely giving interviews about his personal life. And while this wasn't uncommon among celebrities, his particular brand of secrecy extended beyond what was typical. Even close associates noted that Allen had strangely rigid rules when it came to his home visitors, weren't allowed in certain wings of the house, and some of the estate's security features rivaled that of government buildings. Multiple layers of biometric access, reinforced walls in seemingly unnecessary places, and surveillance that covered every corner of the property. These weren't just standard security measures for a high-profile celebrity. They were precautions that suggested something more. One particular point of interest was the basement, or more accurately, what was beneath it. Official blueprints of the house showed a modest lower level intended for storage and utilities, but something wasn't adding up. Contractors who had worked on other Hollywood homes pointed out that the square footage of Allen's property didn't match the actual floor space. It was real estate agents who first noticed the irregularity. One buyer's representative, while conducting due diligence on the home, requested an underground scan. A routine process for homes of this scale, but instead of confirming the standard foundation layout, the scan revealed something else. A hollowed-out space beneath the house that wasn't listed on any official documents. Allen's representatives deflected questions, insisting it was simply a private storage area and that the actor had no obligation to disclose it. But that explanation didn't satisfy the more inquisitive minds involved in the sale rumors. Rumors swirled. Was this just a forgotten feature of the home, or was Allen hiding something deliberately? One prospective buyer was said to have walked out of the tour midway looking disturbed. When asked what had made them uncomfortable, they simply said, "I don't know what's in that house, but I don't want to find out." Even more unsettling, some of Allen's closest friends admitted that he never spoke much about the estate. Unlike other celebrities who flaunted their luxurious homes, Allen was uncharacteristically tight-lipped about his establishment. Perhaps the biggest red flag came from an unexpected source, a former security guard hired to monitor the property at night. "I don't know what was in there," he later revealed in an anonymous statement, "but I can tell you this, Tim Allen never wanted anyone to find it." As the sale process moved forward, tensions grew. Someone was bound to discover the truth, and when they finally did, it changed everything. The garage that held more than just cars on the surface. Tim Allen's garage was exactly what you'd expect from a successful Hollywood actor and car enthusiast. A polished showroom filled with classic automobiles, muscle cars, and rare motorcycles. Allen, known for his love of hot rods, vintage vehicles, often spoke about his collection in interviews, proudly displaying his passion for restoring and maintaining his prize machines. But those who had seen the garage up close noticed that something about it didn't feel right. For one, the space was too large for what was listed in the property records at first glance. It seemed to be a well-organized, fully stocked garage, but visitors who paid close attention noticed subtle inconsistencies in its structure. One real estate consultant working on the sale later admitted, "I've been in countless celebrity garages before this one. It had a different energy. There were areas that seemed off-limits, spaces that were clearly not just for storing cars." The biggest red flag came from the garage pit, a mechanic's dream feature, used for working on vehicles from underneath. Normally these pits are straightforward structures, but Allen's was deeper than necessary and constructed with materials far more durable than required for standard car maintenance. One contractor hired to inspect the foundation of the home before the sale noticed the irregularity and pushed for further examination. But before the process could move forward, Allen's team abruptly shut down any further probing. "This is disturbing. There was no reason to stop the inspection," the contractor later admitted, "unless they didn't want us to see something." Then there were the items found inside the garage, or rather the ones that were missing. Despite Allen's reputation as a car collector, some visitors noticed that key pieces of his collection were nowhere to be found. Cars he had publicly flaunted in previous years had vanished. Some assumed they had been sold off, but there was no record of those sales. More troubling was a stack of faded boxes tucked into a corner marked with nothing but coded labels. One particularly observant real estate assistant caught a glimpse inside an open one and swore she saw old VHS tapes, handwritten notes, and what appeared to be aged classified documents. What was Allen keeping in his garage? And more importantly, why did he go to such great lengths to keep people out the panic room? Nobody knew about if the garage raised questions. The panic room turned them into full-blown alarm bells. Nearly every celebrity mansion features some form of security system, and many high-profile estates include safe rooms, secure areas designed to protect homeowners in case of an emergency. But what made Allen's panic room unusual was the lengths taken to keep it hidden. At first, the existence of the room wasn't even disclosed to the real estate agents handling the sale. It wasn't until an architect reviewing the home's layout noticed a void in the blueprint, a dead space in the house that had no clear function or access point. It was bizarre. One architect said, according to the measurements, there was an entire section of the house that didn't exist, at least not officially. Through a combination of structural scans and old renovation permits, investigators pieced together what they were dealing with. Most panic rooms are constructed with one purpose in mind: protection from external threats. But the design of Allen's panic room suggested something else entirely. It wasn't just meant to keep someone safe. It was meant to keep something, or someone inside the real estate firm representing potential buyers requested access to all sections of the home before moving forward with a sale. Allen's representatives responded with silence. Shortly afterward, a team was sent to the house to conduct a private assessment. By the time they arrived, the entire room had been sealed off. The architectural void that had once suggested a hidden space was now filled. Walls had been reinforced, the possible entrance had been permanently blocked, and any trace of its existence had been wiped clean. One real estate agent who had seen the original blueprints before the modifications was left completely unsettled. "I know what I saw. There was a space there. There was something inside that room, and now it's just gone." The question that haunted everyone involved. What was inside that panic room before it was sealed away? The hidden files and the investigation that followed after the unsettling discoveries in the garage, and the mysterious ceiling of the panic room. Attention turned to another oddity, an old, unassuming filing cabinet tucked away in a lesser-used part of the house. At first it seemed inconsequential, just another piece of furniture in a cluttered study. But when a prospective buyer team began cataloging the estate's contents, the cabinet was conspicuously locked, and not with a standard key mechanism. Instead, it was fitted with a high-security biometric lock, the kind typically used to protect government-level secrets or high-profile financial records. That was the moment things shifted from curiosity to genuine concern. What could a Hollywood actor possibly be storing that required such an extreme level of security? The answer, it seemed, was something that wasn't meant to be found when discreet inquiries were made to Allen's representatives. The response was swift and clear. The cabinet was off limits. No key would be provided, no access granted. The request to include it in the home's inventory was outright denied. That alone raised eyebrows. It didn't take long before speculation ran wild. Those who had worked in the house during Allen's residency whispered about stacks of old tapes, handwritten documents, and envelopes sealed so tightly they looked untouched for years. Rumors surfaced that Allen had kept a meticulous record of his past, things he had seen, deals he had made, and perhaps even the kind of secrets no Hollywood elite ever wanted leaking out. Some wondered if the files contained studio dealings, internal feuds, or personal correspondences that never should have existed in writing. Others feared they could be something far worse. Then came the most unsettling revelation. A former estate worker, speaking anonymously, claimed to have once accidentally seen inside the cabinet, years before it was locked down. According to him, the top drawer contained folders labeled with dates and names, while the lower drawers held small, unmarked tapes, recordings of conversations that were never meant to be heard. But the real shock came when he noticed a section at the bottom obscured by stacks of papers. When he briefly moved the clutter aside, he saw something he would never forget. It was a photograph, he claimed, just one, and it wasn't of Tim, it was of someone else. Someone looking straight into the camera, their face pale, their expression frozen like they'd just been caught in the middle of something. I don't know who it was, but I remember one thing. Whoever took that picture, they weren't supposed to. The moment he realized what he had seen, he backed away. Not long after, Allen had the entire filing cabinet moved to another part of the house, and from that day forward, nobody was allowed near it when the estate was finally put on the market. Allen ensured that the cabinet was removed before any potential buyers could get a second look, but by then the questions had already begun. The footage that disappeared as whispers about Allen's secret files circulated. Another discovery deepened the mystery even further. A longtime friend of Allen, someone who had worked closely with him in the past, recalled a strange incident from years prior, one involving security camera footage that vanished without explanation. Allen's Hollywood Hills estate was equipped with a high-end surveillance system covering every entrance, hallway, and key area of the property. Normally, these cameras were meant for security purposes to catch intruders or prevent theft. But at some point, Allen had become obsessive about them. He didn't just review footage now, and then he monitored it frequently, sometimes late at night alone in his study. One evening, while visiting the house, his longtime associate noticed Allen was visibly shaken. He had been reviewing surveillance footage on his computer, but when his friend asked what was wrong, he refused to answer. Instead, he shut the laptop, locked the office, and ended the conversation abruptly. That moment stuck with the friend for years because the next day, Allen had his entire security system wiped. Every recording, every backup file, every trace of footage from the system was erased. The security company hired to manage the surveillance later confirmed that the deletion wasn't accidental. It had been done intentionally. A full system wipe that left no recoverable data. The footage had been permanently removed. The question that haunted everyone who heard the story was simple. Why? What had Allen seen on his own security camera that made him act so drastically? Some speculated that it could have been a stalker or trespasser, someone creeping around his property late at night. But if that were the case, why wouldn't he have used the footage as evidence? Others believed it was something far more personal, something within the house itself. Could it have been a private meeting he didn't want anyone to know about? A record of someone entering the sealed panic room? Or perhaps something even worse? The panic room secrets unveiled as the investigation continued, and rumors about the estate's hidden truth swirled. One area of the house remained the center of intrigue, the notorious panic room. The sealed room, which had been a topic of conversation for years, had always been somewhat of an enigma. Originally thought to be a simple security measure, it was later revealed to be more than just a fortified space designed to protect from potential intruders. There was something far darker about its purpose. A former contractor hired to make repairs in the house years before it was put on the market came forward with a chilling account of what he had discovered. He had been tasked with working on the panic room during a renovation, and in the process, he accidentally uncovered something that had been hidden within the walls of the room itself. Initially, his job was simple. He was just supposed to ensure the room was functioning as it should. However, as he began working, he noticed a series of strange symbols etched into the walls, almost imperceptible unless you were looking closely. The contractor recalled that the markings were not at all decorative, nor were they part of any known design pattern. They seemed deliberate, like some kind of code or language, though he couldn't make sense of it when he asked Allen about the symbols. He was told it was just part of the room's security enhancements. But the contractor couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He went back to inspect the space the next day and found to his horror that the markings had been covered up, almost as though someone wanted to ensure they were never seen again in the years that followed. Rumors continued to surface about the panic room's true purpose. Some claimed it was a refuge for Allen's most prized possessions, while others believed it was designed to protect him from threats that were more than just physical. One theory, which gained traction after the estate's secrets started to come to light, was that the room held evidence of something sinister, documents, photos, or recordings that would ruin Allen's public image and possibly even endanger his career. The final revelation came when investigators were allowed access to the room during the estate's final sale inspection. The sealed space, initially thought to be untouched, was found to contain a hidden compartment behind the false wall, a compartment that had gone unnoticed by the many who had inspected the house over the years. Inside were several manila folders and sealed envelopes, each containing cryptic notes, some handwritten in Allen's own hand and others clearly compiled by someone else. Among the most shocking items found was a letter heavily redacted and stamped with the words "classified, do not distribute." The letter, once decoded, hinted at a deal gone wrong, a financial transaction that had gone south. and threatened to unravel Allen's reputation in Hollywood. It was clear that this panic room had served as a vault for more than just tangible objects. It held the secrets that Tim Allen had desperately wanted to keep buried. What exactly those secrets were, and why they were so fiercely guarded, remains a mystery, at least for now. The missing people, the disappearing act that no one saw coming, as the estate's secrets slowly began to unfold. Another eerie pattern emerged: the disappearance of certain people close to Tim Allen. It wasn't the usual celebrity fair stories of publicists, agents, and assistants moving on to different projects. This was something far more unsettling. Several former associates once prominent in Allen's inner circle had disappeared from the public eye without explanation. These were not just anonymous figures. They were people who had once played critical roles in his life and career, individuals who had helped shape his image and built his brand, yet as soon as they had left, no trace of them seemed to remain publicly. They vanished into thin air. No press statements, no goodbye notes, no formal departures. They simply ceased to exist in Allen's narrative. One notable figure was James Blackwell, a longtime personal assistant who had worked closely with Allen for nearly a decade. Blackwell had been responsible for scheduling high-profile meetings, arranging interviews, and maintaining Allen's public image. But after a sudden and unexplained fallout, Blackwell left his position and was never seen or heard from again. His social media accounts were shut down and his personal contacts were no longer available. As one insider from Allen's team later disclosed, the situation surrounding Blackwell's departure was anything but ordinary. James wasn't just an assistant, he was a confidant. He knew everything about Tim's personal life and business dealings. The way he was pushed out of the picture so quietly and so abruptly, it didn't sit right with me, the insider explained. Then there was Claire Reynolds, a former public relations expert who had worked with Allen during some of his most high-profile projects. Reynolds was instrumental in shaping Allen's public persona, especially during the 2000s when his career reached new heights. Yet after a highly secretive fallout, she disappeared from the spotlight, and no one could confirm her whereabouts. It wasn't until one former colleague reached out anonymously that the truth began to surface. Reynolds had reportedly taken a leave of absence to deal with personal matters, but had been forced to sever all professional ties with Allen. There was a lot of pressure on her, the colleague admitted. She was involved in some things that she didn't feel comfortable with anymore. She left with a heavy heart, but she also disappeared from the media's eye because she knew too much. This disturbing trend raised a chilling question. Had Allen been using his power and influence to silence those who were getting too close to something darker than anyone had anticipated? And was the reason behind these disappearances linked to the secrets buried in the panic room, or something more insidious? One thing became clear as the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. There was a hidden narrative within Tim Allen's life, a story that had been carefully concealed for years, and the people who had come too close to the truth were silenced, sometimes in ways that made them impossible to trace. That's some real strange insight into Tim Allen's estate. Did you ever suspect something like this from his estate? Why or why not? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Until next time.